What's up, guys? I'm Chris Spags here, back with another Four Corners video for today's 15-game MLB slate, courtesy of Awesemo.com. And weather aside, there's going to be pretty much every player in the league available today to choose from, so like this video right now and leave a comment down below. Let's make it a little harder. Give me your pick for a guy today who's going to hit 2 home runs. We have, again, every player on the slate available. Somebody out there is going to do it today, so who's it going to be? Give me your pick below and throw me a like as well. It all helps out quite a bit when you got to dig through 15 games to make a video. The first corner I'm going to hit on today are the top pitchers on today's slate, and Max Scherzer is a guy who jumps off the page as the number 1 owned option on DraftKings at 49%, Yahoo at 52%, and he's number 2 on FanDuel at 31%. Potential rain is an issue for him, and there are a couple games that may be affected by that, but right now the 2.9 implied runs for him are the best on the slate, and that's what we'll focus on. The 26.8% aggregate K rate in the Padres projected lineup with Scherzer's stuff as good as ever is going to help him out a lot. Scherzer with a 16.4% swinging strike rate, a 12.3% K per 9 rate, both of which are about as good as you can get in the league, so Scherzer here looks great. Again, watch the weather closely. That's going to be the case for a lot of games today, especially on the East Coast. Watch out for that rain. But if the game is going to play, Scherzer looks about as good as it can get on today's slate, and it's worth at least matching the field on because, again, this is a really perfect spot, and he's been about as good as you can get. Jacob deGrom going against Milwaukee. He's going to be the number 2 option on DK and Yahoo. He's going to be the number 1 guy on FanDuel. He is also a rain risk right now, so again, watch the weather closely. If you want, follow at Awesemo Weather on Twitter. It'll give you a good look at all the weather updates as we go through the day. But right now, the spot here for deGrom looks good with 3.1 implied runs against him, and a Milwaukee team who strikes out 26.3% of the time versus right-hand pitching. It's a tougher spot than the one Scherzer is facing because there is a 217 ISO for Milwaukee, so there is some power risk with Milwaukee, but deGrom, a guy who doesn't give up a ton of power, I don't mind going him. I would definitely prefer Scherzer, but I think deGrom is right up there in terms of talent and in terms of opportunity. And James Paxton is going to be relatively under the radar compared to those two guys, but he's in as good of a spot here with 3.1 implied runs in his favor going against San Francisco, which is right there with Jacob deGrom. He's going to have much less ownership, and really it's a favorable pitching park, and a matchup with a poor hitting Giants team means a very good spot for Paxton, who's had 13.3 Ks per 9 and a 15.1% swing strike rate so far in 2019. So Paxton's stuff has been really good. Going against the Giants lineup, who's not great, in a pitcher-friendly park, it all grades out pretty well for James Paxton. The next corner I would hit are the top stacks on today's slate, and the first team that jumps out from a Vegas total perspective are the Minnesota Twins going against Alex Cobb. They get 5.6 implied runs on their favor, which is tops on the slate. And Cobb's allowed a 1.92 whip and a 12.5% home run rate so far in 2019. Jorge Polanco to me seems like a must in any stack. He has a 424 on-base percentage and a 366 batting average in 2019, as well as a 204 ISO versus right-hand pitching going back to last year. So Polanco looks really strong here. This Minnesota team has been hitting really well to start the year. Alex Cobb bad, the Baltimore bullpen really bad. I'll talk more about that later, but it's a good spot here for the Twins, and I like going to them in a spot where really ownership is going to be spread out quite a bit today because there's just so many teams available. A Seattle stack going against Shelby Miller also looks pretty good here with 5.1 implied runs in their favor. Miller's got an 8.11 xFIP, 3.5 Ks per 9, and 5% swinging strike rate so far in 2019. All of those numbers are the worst on the slate. The stack's a little bit less expensive than yesterday, but it's a strong spot for them as a group or as one-offs for guys with pop like Mitch Haniger, Edwin Encarnacion, and Dan Vogelbach. Again, there's a lot of ways you can attack this lineup, and Shelby Miller just gives it up over and over and over again with no signs of improvement. There's no really positive aggression due for him, so I think going against him today, even if you do have to pay up a little bit for it, does seem like a good move. And an Atlanta stack going against Antonio Senzatella also doesn't look too bad with 4.8 implied runs in their favor. It's been a 344 on-base percentage for Atlanta versus right-hand pitching so far in 2019, and Senzatella does limit home runs with a 2% rate this year, but his inability to strike out guys with just 5 Ks per 9 so far in 2019 bodes well for guys who strike out above league average like Ronald Acuna and Josh Donaldson. Freddie Freeman also looks pretty strong here. I think a 3-man stack might be more in order, but again, it's the Braves. They have a ton of talented hitters across the lineup, so I don't mind stacking them up in quite a few different ways. The next corner I want to hit are the lower owned options on today's slate, and Hyunjin Ryu going against Pittsburgh is one of the better options at pitching, who's going to be pretty low owned. 3.2 implied runs against him, and he won't see 100 pitches, but he does get a 26.6% aggregate K rate in Pittsburgh's projected lineup, and Ryu has struck out guys really well with a 10.2 K per 9 so far in 2019. So Ryu, a guy, is not going to throw over 100 pitches. It's just not what the Dodgers do with their starting guys, but Ryu has a lot of good strikeout stuff and a really good strikeout spot versus Pittsburgh, so I don't mind matching the field and probably going a little bit over it in terms of exposure. A Philly stack going against Jose Urena could be a little bit under the radar, even though they do have 4.9 implied runs in their favor. Urena's been allowing 53.7% hard contact this year, and there's dangerous power for the Philadelphia top 5, so again, it's a good spot for them. Andrew McCutchen, JT Realmuto, Bryce Harper, really going to be the only owned parts of that stack at just under 10%. So you could go to Mikael Franco, a guy like that who's been hitting well this year and does have some pop. I think there's some ways to stack it up here, and Jose Urena hasn't looked good to start the year, so I think it's okay to go against him in this spot as long as the rain does hold. And on the other side of the same matchup, Jared Eickhoff going against Miami also looks pretty interesting to me. He's got 3.6 implied runs in his favor, and Eickhoff has been missing bats bats well with a 13.3% swinging strike rate. He's going against the Miami projected lineup who has a 28.8% aggregate K rate. We saw yesterday with Aaron Nola, it was a really good spot for him. He didn't come through great. His stuff still looked about the same as it has all year, but Eichhoff's stuff has been there this year, and this Miami lineup will give it up, so I don't mind going him. And the Vegas total and the money line support him pretty heavily. And a White Sox stat going against Daniel Norris seems like it's going to be pretty low owned with 4.9 implied runs in their favor. Norris hasn't missed bats pretty well with 6.7% swinging strike rate this year. That's going to help Chicago out because they do strike out a lot here. Their 29% aggregate K rate in their lineup versus left-hand pitching is actually the highest on today's slate. So the White Sox do have some risk, but Norris a bad enough pitcher that can go against them. A lot of guys there with power, obviously Jose Abreu in particular jumps out as a guy. Looks like a particularly good matchup going against Norris. For the last corner I want to hit on, here are some of the interesting one-offs I'm finding on today's slate. I think Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is a guy I want to have some ownership on today. It's just a fun pick overall, but he's also been just great in the minors with a 331 batting average and a 413 on-base percentage going back over his entire career. It's a nice first matchup as well with Mike Fiers. He gives up a 5.1% home run rate to righties and has just a 7.7% swinging strike rate. So a guy like Guerrero who makes great contact and also has a ton of power. It's about as good of a debut spot as you can get. It's also not a bad run total supporting Toronto today. I think this is a nice spot, a nice debut situation for Vladimir Guerrero. I mentioned the Mariners stack, but Dan Vogelbach going against Shelby Miller particularly interests me out of that group. Miller allows a 5.8% home run rate to lefties, and Vogelbach has a 315 ISO and a 411 on-base percentage versus right-hand pitching dating back to last year. Vogelbach's a big boy, a ton of pop. Shelby Miller bad, and will give it up in a variety of ways. So Vogelbach, to me, seems like one of those guys who's going to have a great opportunity to get on the board tonight going against Shelby Miller. And I mentioned the numbers before, but Jorge Polanco going against Alex Cobb seems like a really strong one-off play to me. He's a pricey play on DraftKings, but the results have been there going back to last year, and Cobb will likely get hit, but even if he doesn't, the Baltimore bullpen is so bad. They're actually the worst bullpen in the league across a variety of statistics, so they really will give it up even if Alex Cobb doesn't. It's a really good spot versus Polanco. Polanco raking on the year. I like him a lot here as part of a stack, but I also think he's pretty playable as a one-off. So there you go. Those are my thoughts on today's slate. So right now, like this video and leave a comment down below giving me your pick to hit 2 home runs today. We're going to be a hero. Got 15 games. Give me somebody who's going to hit double home runs. If you get single home runs, I will be moderately impressed, but I won't be as impressed if you get 2 home runs correct. So do it right now down in the comments. And of course, throw a like or any questions as well, and I will pop in a chat with you guys as I do every day. And for a slate like this in particular, it's a good time to use the promo code SWITCH and HEDGE to get half off your first month of any package at awesemo.com. Again, there's a lot of options to choose from, so you want to be able to pare it down. And our ownership projections, rankings, and actual projections, you can just plug right into Fantasy Cruncher. Those all help you out quite a bit when building lineups. And again, just so many options. Every player is available, so you got to be able to choose and differentiate, and that's what our package there will help you do. So use that promo code SWITCH and HEDGE to get half off the first month of any package. And I'll be back again on Monday with another Four Corners video, so have a good weekend and good luck.